that's a hard decision for a business owner. Just the decision to approach a broker is a big deal for them, for most of them. So when you get that answer that, okay, the valuation isn't nearly what I thought it would be, or you're really not operating a business that can transfer to someone else, man, that's a tough blow.
Welcome to the Business Growth Masterclass, where business growth is made simple. I'm your host, Albert Gillespie.
And I'm your co-host, Kellen Ketchersid. Join us as we bring you stories from business leaders so you can learn from their wins, their losses, and everything in between.
Today's episode is a little different episode. We wanted to talk about an issue that we run into often in Stag Business Coaching, and it has to do with businesses not being ready to sell.
Right.
And so I want to, kind of set the stage for that. In many business owners, when they approach a broker, we've had several episodes with Tanner Noble, our in-house business broker, and many business owners, when they come to a broker believing they're ready to sell, only to learn that they still have work to do before the business is truly ready to go to market. And, like I said, with Tanner in our previous episodes, we talked a lot about, myths around selling a business and how to control value, what actually drives value. And today we want to lean into that a little bit more. And so we're talking about when the answer isn't no, I can't sell your business, but it's not yet.
Right.
And how the business owners can move from, uncertainty and frustration to clarity and confidence and readiness. And we want to walk through, what our approach is at Stag Coaching with our offering called our Exit Coaching. And it's designed to help owners prepare their business for sale while keeping the broker engaged throughout the process, and so that everybody is on the same team, everybody's on the bus in the right seat.
Yeah.
Going down the road.
Yeah, that last part you said is so important, because if you're a broker and you have your client that can't sell their business yet, or you don't feel like it's the right time to list, for whatever reason, we can get into that. You want to feel like you have a trusted partner that you can work with, and you're kind of the quarterback of this team of experts that's moving your client closer and closer to that finish line that they want to get to. And for a client, that can be really frustrating, that a lot of them come to these brokers and they just want to sell today.
Right.
It's like, I've been in this business for too long, they've waited forever and that's a hard decision for a business owner. Just the decision to approach a broker is a big deal for them, for most of them. So when you get that answer that, okay, the valuation isn't nearly what I thought it would be, or you're really not operating a business that can transfer to someone else, man, that's a tough blow.
Yeah. Let's unpack that.
Yeah.
A little bit. You kind of alluded to a couple of those. And so, setting the table, basically this business owner has had this conversation with a broker where they're interested in selling. Maybe they want to sell right now. Maybe they want to sell in the next few years, and they get a valuation from the broker.
Right.
And maybe it's not the value they thought it would be, or maybe the broker, once he gets his arms around the business, says, hey, I don't think you're ready yet.
Yeah.
And so let's unpack that a little bit. What are some of the reasons that a business isn't exit ready?
Yeah. So like I just said, there's valuation is often a big deal. Obviously, if you think your business should be worth $6 million and the broker comes back with a valuation and says it's worth 2 or 3, that might be a game changer where I'm not going to be able to sell this thing, at least not in the time horizon that I thought. That's a real disappointment to a business owner who's trying to make plans maybe for retirement or some other phase of their career that they want to move into. So it's a huge setback. And you just have to think about the emotions that are tied to this whole thing for a business owner. But getting back to the reasons, so valuation is one, but another one that people often don't think about. So maybe the valuation is there or it's close, but transferability of the business to a new operator is huge. So you're not just thinking as a broker, you're not just thinking from the seller's perspective, the person who's trying to get this business off their hands. You're also thinking about the person who's buying it. And can that person look at this business and say, "Oh yeah, I can buy that thing and run it myself or with a team of operators that I already have without any help from the current seller." And if you can't do that, this business is not worth the same amount that the valuation might suggest, because the buyer's not going to pay it. The market really dictate. You can have a valuation, but the market dictates what a business is really worth. And so if you don't have a transferable business, a business that's more turnkey and can move from hand to hand without really a clear loss of value to customers, or it has to translate over, or you're dead in the water in terms of the same value moving forward. So
Yeah, and I would, said a different way.
mhm.
It's is the business that they're buying, are there repeatable processes to get customers, to
Yes.
continue to get customers? Are there processes in place that are repeatable ways to deliver your goods and services? Do you have a team of people that there's redundancy in training, that if you lose one guy, the entire ship doesn't fall apart? And so it's having that in place, having some kind of training system where
Yeah.
the unique information, the proprietary information within that business stays within that business, that it's not lost whenever the owner leaves. And then I think of some of the other aspects that make it more transferable are, um, whether it's putting contracts in place, whether, there's so many little things
Yeah.
that just make it, the illustration that we talk about. It's like the dream scenario for every business owner is their business can run without them.
Yeah.
And that is the ultimate transferability, where if your business can run without you, you've built a team, you've built an actual business.
Right.
And if you're not quite there, there's a lot of, maybe there's 70% of the business can run without you. That last 30% it can often be the difference in selling for your full valuation or not selling at all.
Right. Absolutely. And you're exactly right. When we get into, so we go from the what, which is the business isn't transferable, to the how, which is you need processes and systems in place that are going to help you do that. And we can get into more of what exit coaching through Stag looks like to put those into place in the business. But yeah, those are the reasons why for a business owner, your broker might say to you, this is really, you're not going to get what you think you should for this business at this time. Or if you do sell it for that amount, you're going to be in some sort of agreement with the new buyer that holds you on for a few more years, because there's going to be a handoff process with this thing since it's not transferable.
Okay. And broad strokes, like whenever this happens, whenever a business owner hears this,
Yeah.
and the broker has to deliver that news, like describe that. Obviously that sucks,
Yeah.
but
It's horrible.
describe that. Like what are next steps? What's the
Well, a broker is not a coach, and so a broker might say, some general things that a business owner needs to go home and work on, but it's not going to be the broker's job to go make sure that happens. And so, oftentimes, this is kind of where the relationship takes a break or ends. So for the business owner, they've got some things that they need to go fix, or they need to go do, and they probably don't know how to do it, or they've been doing business the same way for many years, and implementing processes and systems just sounds like corporate jargon. And it's like, okay, what does that look like in my business? So they feel like this was a dead end. And for the broker, it could be a lost lead, right? Because that potential deal is now off the table. And if that broker hopes to sell that business in the future, he's got to wait for that business owner to come back around to him at a time that's more advantageous for them, whether it's because of the market or because they've done the work.
Yeah.
So, and it's a tough thing for both sides. Yeah.
And losing that momentum and having someone walk out the door without fixing the problem,
Yeah.
them coming back is not is not very likely.
Yeah, the odds would be low, and it's an L for both sides. So that's a tough situation.
Okay, so what you know, in comes exit coaching,
Right.
which is really designed to help be a solution to that problem. And so, can you frame that a little bit? So we've had this seller engage a broker. They've gone through a valuation process, and now the broker is like, "Hey, from what I know now about your business, like we're not there yet."
Yeah.
And that's a delicate thing to balance. And so now enter coaching.
Yeah. So, broker, instead of just listing this thing and hoping for the best, you say, hey, guys, what if we engage with exit coaching through Stag? And that's where we'll come in and we'll meet with the business owner and we will get a sense of what they're trying to accomplish with this exit, with the sale of their business, what the time horizon is for that, just the scope of everything that they want to see in that process, even planning what's going to happen in their lives after this sale. What are their long-term goals and aspirations? But with that plan, that strategic plan that we begin with, we'll move into 6 phases of setting this business up so that it is oriented towards transferability. It's got the systems and processes in place. We've got tools that we can implement that are going to make sales and marketing run like they're supposed to. So operations will be set up to have a knowledge base, especially with the key operators. That's something that in a business sale, there's going to be one or two, maybe more key people who the buyer of that business is going to want to keep on or know with confidence that that way of doing things can come over with them to new ownership. And so a lot of times those key people are the owners themselves in a business. And so it's a catch 22 because the current owner wants to get out of the business, but now they're being told by the seller or by the buyer, hey, I need you to stay on for 2 or 3 more years. So we try to minimize or even altogether avoid that happening in the sale by capturing the knowledge base of the key people and putting that into an easy to run system so that we can then go to the buyer in the future and say, hey, you can do the things the key operator does. Here's the playbook of how they do that. And that will come over to you with the sale of this business. Along with those things, we look at the team and the team dynamics. If there's additions needed to that team, whatever is needed, people moving around on the seats of the bus to make sure that it runs smoothly. And then finally, what are your key measures of success in this business? What are your KPIs? Are you looking at those targets on a regular basis? Are you hitting those targets on a regular basis? Knowing what the business aims for success, and then being able to go to a potential buyer and say, we already know what those measures are, and here they are. Here's your dashboard. So you can see in real time how the business is doing. That is a powerful way for you to sell this business for maximum value and confidence for the buyer to know that this is going to be something that they want. So we run through that whole process over 6 to 12 months with the business owner. But one thing I would like to add is we, throughout all the stages that I just outlined, we're reconnecting with the broker along the way to let them know how their client that they referred is doing in the process and keep the client engaged with the broker. So from the client's perspective, or from the person who's trying to sell their business, their perspective, the broker never leaves the picture. They're the quarterback of this team of experts, like I said earlier. And so they're kind of leading this process towards selling the business. And we at Stag with the exit coaching are just guides along the way to get us to that finish line.
I that is such an important key aspect of that. And from the onset, from the introduction from the broker, we're getting a lot of the information from the broker, like where's the value at today? Tell us a little bit about this business. And a lot of like the initial startup of coaching is we run our clients through our assessment that kind of looks at all the different areas of the business, especially the things that make it transferable, and we're grading each of those. Right. And that's something we're constantly communicating with the broker, like, okay, here's the baseline. Here's where we're at now. We know, especially the key pain points that we really need to emphasize, that we really need to implement some kind of solution for. And at the end of that, we're going to run through that assessment again and say, okay, broker, here, we addressed these items. This is what the operations of the business look like now. This is what it potentially looks like for a buyer moving forward. And it's that much more easy to sell. It's not as much of a guessing game. Like, all right, well, let's go to the market and hope for the best.
Right.
But along the way, our business owners listening to this, I think they're thinking, man, I'm already running my business. I'm already doing so much, and I'm ready to sell. I'm ready to move on. I don't want to do all this extra, hoopla that some coach is going to tell me to do.
Right.
And what I would say to that, and maybe you can jump in here, but what I would say to that is our curriculum, our program that we run business owners through, we have a back office team. We have several team members that are not only going to help tailor each of these solutions for your business specifically, but we have a team of people that can implement it.
Right.
That your team doesn't have to let their foot off the gas pedal. Like they're still,
they can keep doing what they're doing. Yeah.
Yes. And we can come alongside you and make your life easier. Make your business more predictable, make your business, more streamlined, and with your input the entire way. And so I think that I would say that's different in what we do at Stag Business Coaching is we have a team that can help implement. And that is huge. And implementing in a way that adds value. It doesn't make your life harder, it makes your life easier. Because that we all know, anytime a business owner goes and comes back with some new software that they heard some sales pitch and they're like, oh, this is the next thing. And then the boots on the ground have to use it and it adds 17 new steps and they hate it. And they're like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
I guess I have to do this thing now that my boss told me.
The last thing we want to do is drag down the efficiency of the current business, right? The last thing we want, because that would impact the valuation of the business negatively. So yeah, business owners need to understand that we're coming in and we're helping get this thing done. The implementation of the processes and systems are going to feel like somebody else is doing this in the background for us and then handing us a gift. And if we do our jobs right, that's the way it should feel. The other piece of this that I want to make clear is, as a business owner or a broker, the listing can be put up while coaching is going on. So this is not an either or. We can work where we do the exit coaching before the listing, but if the listing is already up, we can be doing it while the listing is there. And we just get as far along in the process as we can before buyer, but the end goal is always the same. If the buyer comes in early and says, hey, I want to buy this thing before we're done with our exit coaching program, great. Everybody still wins. So our goal is the same as the business owner. We want to get this thing to the finish line and not, like you said, not make the business owner feel like they've got all this work to do. Really, you've got somebody coming in doing the work for you and getting you there. So
what would you say, before we move on from, what the 6 months or 12 months looks like? What do business owners need to hear that doesn't feel like, woo corporate speak? What are some practical like deliverables and things that business owners can expect from exit coaching?
Yeah. So on the sales and marketing side, for example, your business probably has some way that it gets customers in the door. But a lot of that relies on communication, relies on relationships. How do you set up communication so that it can happen without you having to be that person doing it every day? Whether that's a set of text messages or emails that go out or calls that are being made from the business to clients or potential leads. How does that happen without you having to do it? So we set up systems for that. Within the business itself, when a customer has bought your service or product, there's a lot of steps that are going on inside the business that are with your team or in collaboration with the customer. How do you set those up so that your team, if it was ever replaced, would know, a new team comes in, how are they going to be trained to do things with excellence the same way that it's always been done in XYZ business? Do you have that in place? Do you have that playbook? Um, those are some key things that we look at with a business owner and set things up so that there's a way that is established and done every time. When questions come up, and a lot of times these questions are very detailed, right? If you're in a business that's highly regulated or just has a very unique way of doing things internally, do you have a way for employees to ask questions and get the same answer every time? And if they have to go to one person, especially an owner or a key operator who's going to be leaving at the sale of the business, how are those questions going to get answered in the future? We have solutions for that. We have some great tools that we like to use in the business. So really, those are some of the examples of ways that we do that.
Yeah, that well said. And I think the listener can hear that. Like, if those two things aren't handled really, really clearly, really, really systematically, buying that business is super risky.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the buyer is getting a loan and they're personally guaranteeing the loan, and there's a lot of risk
Yeah.
that goes into that. And so many of these things that the two solutions that you're describing, that is all about de-risking this business to the buyer,
Yeah.
to the lender, to everybody. And yeah, that it's so vital. Like, when we talk about, a business not being exit ready, and if the value's there, the business owner's like, all right, well, you said it's worth that, like, go do that. But a lot of like the obstacles that a buyer has to overcome are these things are, all right, what's the risk here?
Yeah.
Am I going to continue to get customers? Okay. There's a system outlined. There's a way they do that. I understand it. I know when this owner leaves, like, that's going to keep going. And then, I can keep getting customers. Like, can I keep delivering?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a very methodical, a very systematic way that we continue delivering to customers, and it's documented. There's, training in place for scaling this thing, for
Right.
replacing people. Like that's handled. And those two aspects in particular, like, if you can handle that, you have de-risked this business so much, and you've made it so much easier on everybody in this interaction.
Absolutely. And, it goes beyond just those things too. We look at team dynamics. Like I said, we try to set up your key measures in the business and have a place, like we call it our dashboard, but basically a place where you as a business owner can go see how we're doing this month in all of our key measures. And that's such a powerful thing to look at. And then now you're proactive as a business owner rather than reactive. One thing that business owners who go through this exit coaching program could find is you've now realized how to run this business without yourself. And you may decide not to sell the business in the long run. You may just cash flow this thing. But really, most business owners that go through exit coaching, we've got this strategic vision that we started with, and we're working towards that. And so to realize that vision, we're going to continue through, and it's going to be fun to see, you had that initial valuation when you went to the broker, finish out exit coaching and go back to that broker. And now before we list or we update our valuation, it's going to be a fun thing to see the progress that was made. And now we can move forward to engaging with the buyer.
Okay. You've alluded to this, and you even, mentioned a couple of times, but throughout this process, how do you keep the broker in the loop? How do you continue to help support the broker in moving this listing to going live?
Yeah. So whenever, like I said, we have 6 stages that we think through with every business that we work with. And at the end of each of those stages, we'll reconnect with the broker. And it's up to the broker's discretion as to whether he wants that to be a full-blown meeting with the coach and the business owner who we've been working with and his or herself, or if that's just going to be an update for that month as to where the business owner is at in exit coaching. But at the end of the 6 month or 12-month engagement that we do with exit coaching, we'll have a meeting where we reconnect and definitely talk through all that's been accomplished in the work on the business. So go through that checklist and show the broker along with the client, remind them like, these are all the things that we've accomplished. This is where your business was, and now here's where we are, and here's how that's going to affect the sale. So again, the whole process is structured around supporting the broker and reconnecting these clients or leads who might have fallen off in their previous process. The relationship might have ended at, well, this thing is only worth this much, or I don't know how transferable it is. That would have been the end. Now this potential client or lead is back and they're ready to go.
That is such a valuable thing to everybody.
Yeah.
It is, keeping the skids greased in this interaction where, the seller, they're not having to start over from scratch with a new broker, with a new, entire new team, that we're kind of coming alongside them because at the end of this, like, nobody wants to waste their time. Nobody wants to go through the motions and keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and just keeping everybody on the same page through this entire interaction is just a better way to do it. And just communicating like that's of course we know, that, but it doesn't go without saying that in this process, like, brokers have a unique perspective, and if they can keep leaning into this conversation, maybe they're having potential conversations with other potential suitors for this business, and they can talk through, what's going on and how this is going to make their lives easier on the other side. Maybe they're having conversations, trying to get this thing pre-qualified for SBA or pre-qualified with a lender, where they're updating, a risk profile with that lender, and now the terms that a new buyer can get are even better.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so many things that can benefit from just continuing to communicate with the broker and continue to move this thing down the road. Okay, I kind of want to wrap this up with painting a picture of what does a business look like before exit coaching, and then what do they look like after, and how are they prepared?
Yeah, so it's all the things that we've been talking about, but just to summarize, in before, business looks like it's run by the owner or some key operators who are fielding questions, who are directing the traffic in the business. The business really is limited to their bandwidth, which means these people are very busy. The business doesn't have any SOPs, procedures in place, doesn't really have a well-organized system around sales and marketing or internal operations. There are people who are not as productive in the business as they ought to be. There are team members who are kind of dragging and not really carrying their weight. And there are others who are just doing everything. So that's the sort of the before picture, a typical before picture. After coaching, we want to see that sales and marketing are run in a streamlined way with processes that facilitate outreach. So customers are regularly reminded that your business exists and why they would do business with you, and are coming in because they see those pieces of marketing, whether it's on social media or they're getting outreach, whatever it might be. When they engage with your business, it's not just one person who's doing everything. A team of people, or whatever your team looks like, everyone knows how to do the parts of the business that they're assigned to with excellence. You have a playbook in place, and questions are answered with our tools rather than going through the owner or the key operator. And we know where we're at. And so we know what our key measures are, and we're hitting the targets month after month. So, and this is the kind of business that somebody looks at and they think, I would love to buy that thing. And I can see myself running that business. And really, if you're the seller, you've got to get your business to that point to be most attractive and to maximize your exit.
Well said. That's the dream.
Yeah.
That's the dream. And where do I need to send brokers? Where do I need to send potential sellers to to look into exit coaching to do business with you?
Yeah. So brokers or clients or business owners all can engage with us through our website at stagcoaching.com. We have a simple schedule a call page that you can visit, easy to find on our website, and set up an initial consult, and we go from there.
I love it, man. This is we needed to have this conversation. This has become such a need,
Yeah.
and we've really spent a lot of time perfecting this solution for the market. And we really just we need to tell this story more because we've seen such great results from this.
Yeah.
I appreciate you walking us through that, man.
Thank you. Yeah. Excited with working with the business owners. It's one of the most rewarding things that we do is to see that before and after. And it's a lot of fun.
I agree. All right. If you are a business owner and you feel stuck in your business, you feel your business has plateaued and you can't get to the next level, go to our website, stagcoaching.com. And in the upper right hand corner, click to book your free consultation. And in your free consultation, we can give you the next few steps you need to take your business to the next level. It's free and it's on our website, stagcoaching.com. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.